Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I'm answering a question from the Reddit Big SEO forum. This question is, what are your best tips to increase a site's trustworthiness factor? Now, this person is asking related to the EAT, the EAT, the expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness factor that is described in the Google Search Quality Rater Guidelines. That is, this EAT has become a big buzzword. But their question is, I have a 3-year-old website that publishes content in 2 broad categories. One is related to an assortment of engineering subjects, and the other is interesting science facts. Right now, I'm not too focused on link building. However, I have a few backlinks from high authority, edu, educational, and .org domains. I recently added author bios to my articles. Most of my writers are engineers. What else can I do to indicate that my content and website has a high trustworthiness factor? So before I answer this in detail, let's look at what some of the other people said, and I'm going to give my commentary. All right, so one person here said link building, and I would agree that the trustworthiness, as people interpret trustworthiness, that's going to be part of it for sure. Content that's good enough to be linked to is going to be one correlation of something that probably is trustworthy. If it's not trustworthy, nobody's linking to it. But further down, you can see people saying, oh, people post their Trustpilot score if you have a 4 plus at least. Big author bio images can help with links to their LinkedIn. More from an EAT perspective, though. We did a video on this actually on author bio boxes and why they're pretty much meaningless. And the video we even did yesterday talks about this as well. Google representatives said point blank that they can't track every single author on the web and know what their expertise is and have like a stat counter of this person's an engineer, so their expertise and their trust level for engineering is super high, but maybe their trust level for something like cooking or home and garden is low. So Google doesn't actually track all that stuff. Okay, so the person says getting republished in a prestigious journal can help. Yeah, I mean, it can if it has hyperlinks. If it's a print journal, it's probably meaningless because Google has to track stuff that they can actually crawl. So if they're being republished in a journal that's publicly crawlable and has hyperlinks back to the site, that might help. Links back to the site, not links back to your engineer author. That probably won't help all that much. But a print journal will be absolutely meaningless when it comes to SEO. It says user testimonials can be good as well. I have a feeling, though, that for engineering or science, that's probably not going to be as important as it would be for a service business. So this person says, I don't know if this is the case in your niche, but sometimes professional associations give their members profile pages and bios. If they can link to your site from within those profiles and bios, that might help. That I agree with. This person says, do nothing. If your writers are engineers, then your content should be relevant to your audience. Who else are you trying to get trust from? And this person says, well, Google won't know that. But Google actually will know that. Go back and watch a video that we did on the natural language API. If you're writing an article about a specific engineering problem and all the pages that rank really well mention certain things or certain concepts or certain theories, and your article does not, that's probably going to hurt you because Google uses the words on the page and the phrases on the page to establish concepts. And they might not, the algorithm doesn't understand all that stuff, but it understands enough to know that if people are searching for a certain thing, and certain phrases appear on pages that have strong user signals. And I'll put a card up here talking about user signals, how I believe that they look at that. But the other thing that they're looking for is the content. That's a correlation signal to, yeah, your engineers probably know what they're talking about. The author description is, I would say, essentially meaningless in this context. And I can say that because in a lot of cases, you can have an anonymized author, an author with no bio box, no author bio box, none of that stuff. Uh, and it will have literally no effect either positively or negatively, because Google does not track the 1 billion people creating content for the web and their expertise on a given subject. Linking up their LinkedIn accounts might be useful for users, and so that might be a little helpful, but it's not going to give your content any extra trust. This person says trust is not a ranking factor. It's not a ranking factor within Google's algorithm, and that's, if you go back to the video that we did yesterday, that will back that up. If your site was manually reviewed by a quality rater, it would get a good score based on your description, so Google would know that. Actually, Google would not know that. This first part is correct. Trust is not a ranking factor, and EAT is not a ranking factor. As Google representatives said the other day, it's a dumbed down way for search quality raters to approximate what happens in all these smaller algorithms that evaluate these larger concepts and then are rolled into the actual ranking algorithm. But if the site was manually reviewed by a quality rater, that's not going to directly affect your ranking, because all that the search quality raters, which are human raters, which evaluate your website, all they do is evaluate the page based on the criteria that they're given, and give it different scores for different things. That feedback goes to a Google engineer, who then tries to evaluate how to make the algorithm at scale approximate those things, but it doesn't directly affect your ranking. So one thing that I would recommend with this is not have two broad categories. I would choose one or the other. And I would make, if you have a site about engineering and another one about interesting science facts, make this two sites. One site about interesting science facts and another one about engineering subjects. Don't have it be combined, because all that does is it really muddles up Google's understanding of your site. Have it be about one or the other, but not about two very broad categories, because then you're just in the murky middle and you're not talking about one subject or another. You're just like a catch-all, and that's probably not too great. I would focus on link building if I were you. You have a start here, as you mentioned, but I would continue to do that. The author bio boxes are pretty much meaningless, but I would look at the content. I would say the biggest thing that you can do, look at the content that's currently ranking for each subject and make sure that you're hitting all the same points that they are. If a certain, engineering subject, let's say that it's like, whatever, we're talking about like this principle of whatever it is. You want to make sure that your article hits the same concepts that the high ranking articles do. If it has table information, put that in. If it has images, put that in. Look for those sorts of patterns, because that's what Google is doing. But this is a myth. This whole thing that Google knows what everybody is. Go back to the video that we did on our Your Money or Your Life site that sells orthodontic equipment. We hired a dentist and all this stuff, and it's still not ranking. It's the same thing. Google doesn't know your site from anyone else, and it doesn't know your authors from anyone else. They could be anonymous for all Google cares. It's mostly looking at the content. It's looking at the user signals that people have when they're on the page, and it's also looking at, is this content that people are linking to from other engineering sites? And I would, split this into two different ones. That's my advice on this. But the trustworthiness, this is not a factor, and you can go back to yesterday's video on the EAT, and that'll back that up. My name's John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design and SEO. I'm here every single day making videos on SEO. Thanks to all the new subscribers, and I'll be here tomorrow. Thanks. Till next time, peace.